Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Before I jump into showing you around the car, I kind of just wanted to set the scene for this video. So, the other day I was having a conversation with Rachel and we were talking about a couple that we know, and the topic of being a 98%er came up. Now I'd never heard that term before, so Rachel explained that it's kind of a person who starts stuff but doesn't quite get to the finish line, so they get 90% of the way there and then they kind of stop and move on to something else. And I was kind of sat there thinking, do you know what? That sounds kind of familiar, and that's kind of what I do. I put all the effort and graft to get a project started, and all the hard work to get it kind of going and progressing, and then just before I get to the end, I kind of get sidetracked by buying some other project off eBay or whatever, and then that gets put to one corner, and then I move on to the next one. So I kind of did some soul searching and sat there and thought, it's really what it is. I get frustrated sometimes when I come out to the workshop and it's just like there's so much stuff that's unfinished. So either week I came over to the workshop, had a massive clear out, got rid of a load of crap that I don't need, just a big tidy up and move things around. So now I can work on multiple projects at the same time. So I can not only work on the BM, I can also work on the other two projects that I have here. That's kind of it, I guess. So now I'll introduce you to the latest project, which actually isn't the latest project, it's an old one, but for you guys it's a new one because you haven't seen it. So let's have a look. Okay, so as the title of this video has already stated, it's a twin engine build. So I wonder if any of you guys can guess what it is. Well, so it's a VW Corrado. I'll kind of just try and explain the project and what the plans are. So underneath the bonnet is currently sat a V6 4Motion. I think this is a BD engine. This isn't planned to go in this one. This is a spare one I've had lying around and I've had nowhere else to put it, so it's just been sitting here for a while. But it will be getting a VR6, a 12 valve, not a 24 valve. Hence this pile of engines over here. So two of these bad boys are destined for the Corrado and the other one is destined for the BMW. Right, I've just moved the engine out of the way just to allow me to pull the car out to get a better look around it. So give me a second and I'll try and pull it out as far as I can. Okay, I've just pulled it out just to give you guys a better view around the car, and what I'll do is I'll just go around and explain what's been done to it and what the plans are. So to be honest with you, it hasn't changed that much from when I originally bought it. I bought it a couple of years ago now from a guy who was planning to put two 1.8T 20 valve engines in it. Unfortunately he had some health issues which meant he had to abandon the project, and I bought it with the intention of putting two VRs in it. So I guess all I've done to it so far is clearly get it here. Put some wheels on it and some suspension just to allow it to roll, and that's kind of it. I've made a few mods in terms of lighting the doors, and I think that's it really. There hasn't been a great deal of progress, if I'm honest, but that's kind of the purpose of this, is to go from a 98%er to a 100%er. Right, so what makes this a twin engined car? Well, what's happened is it's had a kind of semi space frame welded in the back, which allows you to bolt the front subframe into the rear. The tops of the suspension turret's been modified to accept the front suspension rather than the standard rear suspension, and that's kind of it. It's at a high level, it's not really that complicated. Clearly there was a lot of work that went into the measurement and kind of lining it all up to make sure the geometry was correct, but again, it's quite a simple concept, and it's been done many times before. I'm by no means leading anything by doing this. It's been done many times. I think See It built one, VW built one way back in the day, and there's been numerous twin-engined cars built over the years, from Peugeot 205 to Saxos to Golfs to Corrados to you name it. There's loads of them out there. But anyway, I like the idea, so I'm doing it as well. Right, so let's go to the front. So I've taken the engine out just to give us a bit more of a view. But again, on the front, there's not really that much different between this and a standard VR, apart from, as you can see there, there are two clutch master cylinders, because clearly this is now twin engine, so it has to actuate two clutches. But other than that, underneath the bonnet, it's as it was. Inside here, it's again not much different from a standard Corrado, other than the fact that it's got a full roll cage. The changes really start clearly and obviously when you get to the back. So this section here is all new, which accepts this kind of rear bulkhead, and obviously the cage has been extended out the back to allow that subframe to bolt up. This part here I'm going to change, because I'm going to take out the aluminium and put some form of perspex screen in there so I can see out back. Otherwise I feel like I'm driving a van. Out back, this is heavy. One second, wait. Let me try not to do this one-handed. Move this out of the way. We come round here. Right, this is the rear radiator setup. It's got a scoop in the roof, which you can see just here, which should feed air through. There'll be an intercooler in the roof for the rear engine. Air will flow through the intercooler. There'll be some kind of perspex sheeting which will act as the rear window and allow air to flow kind of down through that rear radiator. And there's some fans on the back side of that radiator, which you can see, which if you can see, I'll try lifting this up again without dropping it, just in there. And obviously they always aid the cooling. Let's get a view from the back. So again, that's just obviously how that rear subframe is now bolted to the car. And as you can see, the rear wheel there, that upright is actually a front upright, so it is literally a carbon copy of the front, which is just now out back. So that's kind of it in terms of just summarising what's been done. I guess now I can talk about the plans. Okay, so I intend to be able to run this car in either front wheel drive, rear wheel drive or four wheel drive. Now to be able to do that presents a few problems, mainly around braking, steering and gear change. So to be able to run it in either mode, be it front, rear or four, you need to be able to decouple those things. So from a braking perspective, I'll have the original brake servo in the OEM position, and I'll have a panel in the center console that will allow me to basically move a vacuum hose between two ports. On one port it will be from the front engine, on the other port it will be from the rear engine. Clearly if I'm running in four-wheel drive mode, I'll just leave it on either the front or rear engine, it won't make a difference. So that kind of should resolve the braking issue. Next is steering. So clearly these engines have a mechanical power steering pump. Now if I'm running on rear-wheel drive mode, the rear engine is going to be running, but the front won't. So how am I going to get power steering? So I have to, in essence, decouple the power, that mechanical power steering from both engines. And to do that, I'll be using a electro-hydraulic power steering pump. So that will allow me to remove both power steering pumps and literally drive the hydraulic steering rack from a electric pump. So that should resolve the steering. Lastly, it's the gear change. So clearly I have to be able to take the cables off to be able to say what I'm in rear wheel drive mode or front wheel drive mode. So I'll just again have a quick release panel on the center console, which will allow me to unbolt the two cables quickly if I'm changing mode. And I think if I can do those three things, that should allow me to relatively easy switch between modes. It's not going to be at the press of a button, but it should be relatively easy. The other challenge is the fuel tank. So clearly with an engine in the back, that's where the fuel tank would normally sit, so there's not many places now to put a fuel tank. The original plan was to put two small fuel tanks either side, kind of in this quarter panel here, one this side and one the other side. Now that's fine in the sense that it's behind the firewall, but it's still next to an engine, so I wasn't particularly happy with that idea. So I looked at alternatives, and I quite like the idea of having the fuel tank in the crash zone, so in the middle of the vehicle, so that if you have an incident anywhere around the car, it's protected because it's in the middle. So I did some digging and did some research, and the plan now is to use an MR2 fuel tank, because clearly an MR2 is rear engined. The fuel tank is clearly not at the front of the car, but it's actually in the transmission tunnel. And the reason why I think this is quite a good idea is because it has all the design, all the baffles, so in fuel surge and all that stuff shouldn't be an issue, because it's been designed to be in the middle of the vehicle, and it's been designed to be a certain shape and size. So I'll just draw your attention to this pile on the floor. So I bought an MR2 and cut the center tunnel out, and obviously salvaged the fuel tank. Also, which was the icing on the cake, is this little lot down here. So this is the electro-hydraulic power steering pump out of an MR2. So that's what I'm going to use as my steering solution. Now there is some electronic gubbins that come with this, which allow you to vary the sensitivity of the pump based on vehicle speed. So I'm hoping to be able to use my ECU to drive that based on vehicle speed, but we'll get to that way down the line. So I'm trying to think, what else haven't I talked about? Engines, clearly. So two VR6 engines will be going in here, both turboed. The gearboxes, I'll be using O2M gearboxes, not the original O2A VR6 gearboxes, so I'll be going from a 5-speed to a 6-speed. The reason for that is the O2As are weak. They won't take any decent power. So the O2Ms are considerably stronger, but the issue with that is they are, and if I walk over to the engine that I've got on the floor, they are big old units, so they are quite heavy, and they are four-wheel drive. So they have the transfer case. So I have an option to remove this transfer case and get like an adapter which removes this and allows you to bolt that cup back into the gearbox, or just leave it as it is. I'm swaying to the idea of leaving it as it is, because it kind of means that I have drive shafts which are of equal length and it's less faff, so I'm going to try that for now. So that's gearboxes. Drive shafts I'll have to custom make. Turbos to be determined. Inlet manifolds probably make myself. Exhaust manifolds, I'm thinking of a sidewinder, and by that what I mean is I'll have a pipe coming around the back of the engine, and then the turbo will sit on the side of the engine rather than the back. The reason for that is I intend to use quite a big turbo, and if I use like an ATP manifold or a log manifold, I won't be able to fit the turbo that I want without clashing against the bulkhead. So I'm thinking to move the turbo to the side. That means I won't have any space limitations in terms of the size of that turbo. That does present a few problems, which actually doesn't. I have the problem anyway, but if I'm using an MR2 fuel tank, that means there's nowhere to flow an exhaust for the centre because there's a fuel tank now there. So the plan is to have both engines having side exit exhausts. So there'll be an exit out the side of the front for the front engine and an exit out the side for the rear engine. The problem that presents is where and how to route an exhaust in and amongst all the engine and gearbox and turbo, etc. Out the front. That's still kind of to be determined. I'm not sure whether I'm going to have. I could have the turbo sat kind of there, and then the exhaust coming around and out the side there, but then my fuel lines run down that side. So I'm thinking to have the exhaust, I'm not sure how good an idea this is, but kind of coming out and looping down and then coming at the front here, but we'll see. I'm not sure if that's going to work, but I think once I've got the engine in and I've ordered the engine mounts, because I'm using an 02M gearbox, the mounts are different, so I'm getting some custom ones. But yeah, once the engine and gearbox are in, I'll be able to assess how much room I have and work out where things can and can't go. But the plan is to have it exiting out the front from one of the sides. How easy that's going to be is to be determined, but we'll see. So yeah, I think that's it for now. So the first job I'm going to do is to start to cut out the centre tunnel, so I can weld in the MR2 one, and the fuel tank will literally bolt straight in. So that's a relatively simple job. And then I'll use this part of the cage to connect to the centre tunnel. So I'll have two bars coming down and weld to the tunnel, and then the same thing at the front. I'll use this cross beam to pick up some points to weld to for the centre tunnel, so that should be nice and sturdy. But for this video, that's kind of it in terms of a quick walk around and an explanation of what's been done and what the plans are. I'll clearly try and keep you guys updated, so I'd imagine the next video will be on me cutting that centre tunnel out and welding in the MR2 one, and then from there the engine mount should be here, so I can put the engines in, then start working out routing and planning and piping and stuff. Then in parallel, that third VR engine should be being built for the BM, and I guess that will lead the way in terms of the turbos and stuff, because obviously once the engine's built and mapped and stuff, I can pinch the calibration and stuff out of that one and reuse it in this one. And then also there's work to be done on the other project, which I'll share with you guys in a video to come. So as always, thanks for watching. If you've liked it, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you've got any comments, questions, or whatever, please feel free to use the comment section down below. But I'd like to hear what you guys have got to say, positive or negative, it's all good. But for now, thanks for watching again, and I will see you on the next one. Cheers, bye.